armed with only a rescue tube, Harrison is seriously undergunned.
One of the main rules I got taught when I first started, never go on by yourself, because if someone's drowning, they don't care who you are. They're going to see you're afloat and they're going to jump onto you and start drowning you.
It's at low tide that Bondi's shore break can get very ugly.
You got to get out there as fast as you can because you're always thinking about what the patient's doing, whether he's still above the water or whether he's going under.
A big board in shallow water and thumping waves. Jackson could lose valuable time trapped in the shore break.
Time's everything when you're doing a rescue.
Too big to be pushed underneath the waves, the 9-foot rescue board must be rolled. Get it wrong, Jackson will be washed back to shore.
After I caught that third shorey on the head, I didn't have any visual on the actual patient and where he was, so I was certainly a bit worried.
When someone's going under, time is the most critical aspect ever. You literally got seconds. So if you're held up with a couple of 2-foot shoreys, like sometimes it can be the difference between life and death.
A lull between waves, and Jackson reaches a father struggling to keep his son above water. Thankfully, a bodyboard has kept the pair afloat.
Anyway, I finally got out there and managed to get to him, and luckily there was this bloke with the bodyboard. I thanked him, who sort of took over, but the old man was really quite worried about his son.
Definitely one. Oh, he's a kid. He was a young kid. I think it must have been his dad kind of hanging on him. Yeah, he's got him. He's coming back in and the dad's hanging on the board, but there's a proper shorey there, so you just got to be careful coming back in.
Paddling through a shore break on a rescue board takes real strength. Surfing a patient back through the shore break takes skill.
Oh, nicely done. Nailed it. Jacko just got the hell wave.
When you snag a good wave from out the back and really complete a good ride, it's unreal because you know the boys are watching from the tower.
I was more than relieved to be able to snag a big bomb and bring the patient in one piece. When I heard the little fella in front of me have a little scream with enjoyment, I was stoked that he got that feeling that every surfer knows about.
Father Jeff and son Kane are on holiday from Melbourne. 11-year-old Kane may not be one for the surf, but he definitely has a way with words.
We were out there and all of a sudden we were a lot further out than we thought. I didn't even know about it until I saw how far the beach was away from us.
Pretty scary for me to see him get stuck there.
Yeah.
Went a little bit too fast pretty quickly. I said, come back, and he was already gone.
Be careful of the waves because they can push you out quite quickly.
I got there and the girl was being held. She was in excruciating pain. Something was horribly wrong.
After she was violently dumped by a wave, the woman must be supported by volunteer lifesavers and members of the public.
Minimising movement in the ocean just adds a kind of extremely difficult element.
The spinal board is on its way. But in the rolling surf, Jules must find a quick solution.
I need to get this girl on a stable platform and out of the ocean.
You're in charge of the head. So 3, when you count, everyone has to turn her body and we have to raise her.
I had to improvise, so I just went for it.
1, 2, 3.
Actually, they did it pretty smooth. It's not too bad.
Assisted by volunteer lifesavers and members of the public, Jules must get the woman through the surf without any sudden movements.
There's a huge amount of responsibility when dealing with a spinal. Your treatment could be the difference between them walking home or them going home in a wheelchair. Every time she screamed and cringed, I swear like I felt that. I just kind of went into action mode and autopilot and started yelling out orders to people. We brought her in and just lay her down on the board in the sand, and I guess that was when we started to really assess like her symptoms and what was happening.
So what's your name?
Yeah, you can swim out there.
What is your name?
Sophie or something.
All right, I'm Jules. I want you to stay as still as you possibly can, okay?
21-year-old Sammy is at the beach alone.
And is the pain just in your neck? Okay, back and neck. Did you get dumped by a wave?
Lying precariously on the edge of the board, Sammy must be stabilised.
Sammy, what we're going to do now is we're just going to get you a little bit more straight so you're more comfortable.
Don't crack your head.
When they're feeling a lot of pain, it's really hard to treat because you don't want them moving their head or their neck, and quite often when they are in such distress, they'll do that.
Every summer, lifeguards respond to dozens of potential spinal injuries. Most of them suffer no permanent effects. A handful aren't so lucky.
I'm just going to give you some pain relief, Sammy, all right?
An analgesic gas offers the lifeguards' strongest form of pain relief.
Big breast that you were doing with me.
Doesn't taste very nice. It's okay.
It's like medicine, so it's going to taste a bit funky, but it's so important.
It's just important that you get it in, yeah. Yeah, but it's going to help you, all right?
A head-to-toe assessment will identify any loss of feeling or motor function.
Can you just wiggle your toes at all for me? That's a really bad sign when someone has no feeling in their feet. It's time to really start thinking about, serious spinal damage.
Sammy's symptoms indicate a potentially devastating spinal injury. The question now is whether or not it's permanent.
My left leg is
Your left leg is numb?
It felt numb when I hit my head.
Yeah.
All the pain,
Bit of pain?
from my back.
That's all right, just keep breathing. Remember,
Take a whistle in, nice deep breath.
As lifeguards wait for paramedics to arrive, Sammy makes a shocking revelation.
I've broken a neck before.
Okay, so how long ago have you broken your neck?
A year and a half ago.
And what were you doing a year and a half ago?
Cheerleading.
So I just kind of took a breath. She could have completely kind of cracked or broken something here.
For the symptoms that she showed, that was the most serious case I've dealt with.
So we're going to put a collar on you, all right?
I guess I was fearful that she might lose her ability to walk.
Lifeguards wait in hope for news that Sammy will make a full recovery.
Poor little thing, hey? 20 years old. Young.
I didn't even know what to think when she left the beach. I was kind of like just doing some really deep breaths, trying to kind of process it all. But yeah, I was so concerned for her because it was just a massive unknown.
Go. Cleared that area out before I came up about 10 minutes ago.
The fate of these two girls weighs on Jethro's shoulders.
I could see that they were youngish girls and the fear was in their eyes. They were screaming for help when I was paddling out, so you just got to go. You got to go hard.
They might not make it in.
When you're rescuing young kids, time's not on your side. You really don't know how long they got left in them to fight.
Jethro learns why the girls couldn't hear earlier warnings from lifeguards. Because they're deaf.
They looked at each other in a weird way as if like to acknowledge what was going on, and they worked together as a team, and yeah, never seen anything like it.
The young girls are sisters. On shore, Harrison looks for their parents.
If I could hear the screams 50 metres away on the beach, surely the parents could hear the screams.
It's the grandmother. She's dead.
The grandmother has been trying to signal the girls for the last 10 minutes.
She was on the water's edge helpless. She couldn't let anyone know that her kids are in trouble. She couldn't run up to us, you know. She just started doing sign language to me, and I felt my heart sunk a bit, actually.
We didn't know we was moving back, and yeah. Me and Samantha thought it was gonna be fun way back, but we were drowned because water splashed over my face. I told Samantha, "Why say help?"
When you're out in the water, you hear, you know, the seagulls are crashing off the waves. They couldn't hear anything. Not being able to hear anything or knowing that the lifeguard's coming to get you, that'd be your worst nightmare.
I learned from school about RIP, and I thought it might be RIP, so I do follow what teacher taught us. So help, yeah.
Down here we see people from so many different walks of life, and it definitely makes you reflect and realise how good our job is down here at the beach. When you rescue 2 girls like that, yeah, it feels really good to send them home.
Yesterday, lifeguards treated a young woman with an alarming pain in her neck.
I was so concerned for her because it was just a massive unknown.
Since then, they've been waiting desperately for news. Finally, information of the woman's condition is at hand.
Guys, this is Sammy from yesterday.
After being cleared of serious injury in hospital, Sammy has returned to say thanks.
When I went underneath the wave, I kind of like tumbled and smacked the back of my head against the sandbank.
The back of your head?
Yeah. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
I was pretty excited because I was thinking, okay, well, if she's here, she's on her feet and she's walked in, so this is fantastic news.
How are you? Feeling a bit better now.
What was the verdict? What's
inflammation around my C7 and aggravated my C6 again. I've got full feeling back in my arms and legs.
Yay, that's fantastic.
To have people come back and truly thank you and mean it, yeah, it's really special.
When all is said and done, lifeguards just want to close the doors without further event.
I'd head down there. The clubbies are out there.
Loaded with 2 people, the lifesaver is dangerously close to the reef.
You've got a lot of swell pushing in there against the rocks, and obviously the rip runs around the back of the iceberg, so you kind of get trapped between rocks and waves, and it can be really tricky.
Yeah, also, Harrison, just north of the clubbies, there's one bloke. He might need a hand as well.
Any delays could leave the volunteer lifesaver vulnerable to the reef.
I have to prioritise who's drowning and who can keep themselves afloat for a bit longer.
Harrison's doing a rescue. I've got a clubby doing a double rescue behind the reef.
I went to the first guy who I thought was in more need of assistance. And he told me he was okay.
The volunteer lifesaver is being pulled towards the reef.
The clubby cannot even nearly get these 3 blokes in.
But the man who claims to be okay is showing signs that he's far from it.
Huts can't get this bloke in.
With one of the buggies out of action, Reidy has 200 metres to cover on foot.
Do I have a second board down here?
I can see one right down south.
I think, yeah, there's still a south board down there. Clubby.
Harrison is torn between patients.
The clubby had 2 patients. This other guy had no one with him. That's where I became unstuck. So I knew I had to get him in as soon as I could because I need to go back out and grab these other guys.
Managing 2 patients in tricky conditions has been gruelling work for the volunteer lifesaver.
He would have been on that reef getting pounded by waves for at least 10 minutes now.
See good? Come here. Go take this board. Good one, mate, doing well.
The lifesaver is exhausted, but Harrison can only take 1 patient at a time.
I noticed Reidy's hurting out.
Tevin is on a working holiday from Canada. After 20 minutes stuck in the south corner, he's short of breath.
I was shook up. You always hear about people getting scared. I was like, it's nothing. When you're actually out there, it's crazy. I'm a smoker too, so that doesn't help.
Despite a delay, Harrison eventually made the right decision. Without the help of lifesavers and lifeguards, 3 people could have died.
Looking at the conditions, I thought we'd just be directing a few swimmers up between the flags. I had no idea what was coming for me next.
Just metres from shore, 2 people are drowning.
Go for it.
The man bounces off the bottom between mouthfuls of air as the woman tries to stay afloat. But their rescuers also have a problem.
Do you want anything? What? There's none on there.
Where the 2 people are drowning, we've got no rescue boards.
Armed with only a rescue tube, Harrison is seriously undergunned.
One of the main rules I got taught when I first started is never go on by yourself, because if someone's drowning, they don't care who you are. They're going to see you're afloat and they're going to jump onto you and start drowning you. I was just grabbing them and they were sinking me. And so I was pretty much trying to keep them afloat, and the only time I could get air is if I went down and I pushed myself off the bottom to get some more air, then I went back under again. I was drowning.
As Harrison is held under, Yatesy arrives with a much-needed rescue board.
When I got there, it was worse than I thought. I didn't realise how bad things were. Harrison was pretty much going under.
The only thing that's going through my mind at this stage is, I'm drowning here. This must be what drowning feels like.
Hold on, mate, hold on.
It doesn't take much for someone to panic and go under. And this can happen literally 5 metres from shore.
That was a perfect scenario, really. They were swimming and then they got tired.
I was trying to jump off the bottom to keep them afloat. They were drowning the tube.
Taesuwan and his sister Yujaman are on holiday from South Korea. Outside the flags, the 2 weak swimmers were caught unaware by a small rip and almost drowned just 5 metres from shore.
There's a big wave. It's a really big wave, so it can't be come here.
After everyone's relief and on the board, I look back and I'm like, man, we're just right here, you know?